right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of How to Do Drugs. I am your host, Aaliyah Janine, and today I have the wonderful and beautiful Corinne Fisher. How are you?
Hello, I'm good. I'm gonna learn how to do drugs today.
Are you?
I'm pumped. I feel like Marilyn Manson in Party Monster when Macaulay Culkin had to teach him how to like roll a joint. Apparently,
I do remember that. I haven't seen that movie in years, but that was a good movie.
It's like a little set urban legend, but I think it is actually true.
Yeah. Oh, no. That was based off of a true story or whatever. Because wasn't it like someone had died or something? Like he went to prison. Like that guy went to prison.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the original Party Monster. Yeah.
Definitely went to prison for that. Yeah. Because I remember watching that because I used to go to a lot of raves in Chicago.
Okay.
Growing up like in the late 90s, early 2000s when they were still like underground and cool. And I remember when that movie came out, I'm like, I want to go to a rave in New York.
Yeah.
Because New York and Chicago, like they were really big for that. I remember we used to get like DJs from New York, like Frankie Bones, and just like freak out.
I love a DJ name.
Frankie Bones, right? And then there was, I remember Justin Long, not the actor.
the DJ Justin Long.
DJ Justin Long. Derek Carter was phenomenal. Danny the Wild Child.
Ooh.
He did a lot of drum and bass. Jungle, I don't know what they call it now.
Okay.
They like to change the names to stuff, I noticed. Like twerking used to just be booty popping, and now it's twerking. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like reinventing the wheel.
Yeah. Well, you got to keep it going. You got to keep it seeming fresh without actually having to do any work to make it seem fresh.
That seems like what Gen Z is kind of all about. And I don't know if I could be mad at them for, you know what? Like
it's very smart. They really have learned how to cut corners in the best ways.
Absolutely.
Because we're overworked. So
they're just taking our stuff and renaming
yes.
it.
It's a good plan.
I'm not mad at it. Actually, now maybe a little bit. Like TikTok kind of annoys me. Like it's fun and I get it, like the lip syncing thing. But like the first people that I thought of when TikTok came out was Milli Vanilli.
Oh, I was like drag queens, but no. Yes, yeah, Milli Vanilli did really. They took lip syncing as far as you can take it.
Absolutely, won a Grammy for it even, and then they had the Grammy taken away.
Yeah.
And I feel like they should get the Grammy back now.
For inventing TikTok.
Yeah, basically.
I know. I like TikTok as far as like it has good editing features. Like I went to film school and it's kind of like sometimes kills me because editing is so much easier than when you learned on like a Final Cut Pro or an Avid.
Yeah.
But also a lot of the content is low grade. So it's like there's just too much. And then people think, oh, content is so easy to make. And it's like, well, crap content.
Yeah, it's super easy to make all sorts of content. It's just if people are going to watch or not. Yeah, I definitely, because Instagram has the reels now or whatever, and their editing isn't even close to what TikTok has.
No, TikTok, you gotta edit on TikTok and then put it on
and then put it on.
Of course, everyone knows that. Yeah,
even the old people.
Yeah,
know that, and I am an old person. So drugs, Corinne. Like I know, like we've been drunk together, like at parties and stuff, but not really. Like you don't really drink that much. I've never seen you like super sloshed.
No. Well, I mean, also you're seeing me in business situations. Yeah. So I do. I mean, of course, there's been a couple times, certainly at like, you know, a holiday, the stand holiday parties are kind of notorious. But I do try to keep it together in business situations, honestly, because I just don't trust our fucking colleagues. That's so you don't ever want to get I never want to get in a place when I feel like I'm out of control or I'm not know exactly what I'm doing and saying. Yeah. Because I don't fucking trust anyone. And also like it's hard when you have an occupation that has so much drugs and alcohol around it because it's like, all right, well, you can show up to this job drunk, but it still is a job, so you probably shouldn't. Yeah. And that's like my thoughts on it. You know, I ran a show for a little while at New York Comedy Club, or for several years with Blair Saki, and that was like the only show I would allow myself to get drunk at because it was kind of like a balls to the wall, you know, started at 11:30 p.m. kind of a situation. Yeah, but overall, I don't like to get fucked up around our colleagues. But if I do, drinking is the way to do it. Like I'm not a big drugs person.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. I, on the other hand, because I grew up in bars and stuff and worked in bars. And so just drinking at work it's just kind
the norm.
Yeah, it was very normal. And now, like, I've noticed, especially like after quarantine, I was definitely a hot mess. Like, it was hard for me to get acclimated back into only having like one beer or no beers, at a show. And I was just getting wasted. And now, like, I'm finally back at that level where I could go out, do a spot, and like not drink at all, or like have a beer and then come home instead of just hang out and get annihilated.
You were one of those get annihilated during quarantine people?
Oh, I did so many drugs. Yeah.
Was it because you didn't like not being around people, or like what was or you were just bored, or like
just
it was
bored.
fun?
Yeah, it was definitely just boredom. Especially like I hung out with Phil Duckett a lot, and growing up. Yeah, we're horrible people together, but also the best.
Yeah. No, I can see how that could be both of those things.
But like growing up in Wisconsin, like if you drank at home alone, that definitely means you're an alcoholic, 100%. But during quarantine, everyone, like, you couldn't be around people, especially in the first couple of months or whatever. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'm just going to have this one bottle of wine.
Right.
And then, like, I didn't realize that I definitely upped my alcohol intake. Like other drugs, like I love acid and mushrooms. I do those, actually quite regularly. But like even cocaine, I started doing way more of that over quarantine. You didn't explore with anything over quarantine?
God, no, I didn't. I did not do drugs at all during quarantine. I am not, like I said, I'm not a drugs person. Yeah. The only type of drugs I do are psychedelics, and I do them like once or twice a year. Yeah. So, but I can't. I'm trying to think. I'm like, the last drug I definitely did was mushrooms, but I feel like it's been like a good year. If not, more.
So you're due for your yearly.
Yeah, well, I'm kind of like, I'm experiencing grief right now, so I'm like, I'm really crazy about not doing drugs or drinking. I even just kind of
as a coping mechanism kind of thing.
I don't. It makes me feel worse. I know that, so I really just stay away from them, especially drugs like that where you're kind of taking yourself to another realm or allowing yourself to kind of just like break free, and there'll be a time for that, but the time is not now.
Not right now.
I'm like, there's nothing I need to discover right now. I'm good just on this realm, and then we'll think about that later. Yeah, but I love those drugs. Like I've had such like wonderful experiences, and I'm like someone who has trouble living in the moment because I'm always thinking about the future. What's next? How do I get nice? Working ahead of myself. And so that's why I really like psychedelics, because it's the one time when like you are forced to be in the moment. You can't be on your phone. You can't be thinking of anything else because it'll break your brain.
Right. So. And just like stay in the present and just enjoy the moment. It is really helpful for that. Psychedelics, especially like mushrooms and stuff like that. They've been, because they're doing all sorts of like tests and stuff now. And like they've done tests. They've known this forever.
Sure.
That stuff like that can actually help with grief and like depression. Like definitely microdosing with mushrooms has helped me a ton with like my depression, even like seasonal depression. Surprisingly, I haven't had any seasonal depression. It's like I was depressed like for 3 years, I noticed, and then I stopped dating those particular two people, and then all of a sudden I'm not depressed anymore.
Interesting how that worked out.
I was like, I got rid of the two toxic people, and then all of a sudden I feel better about myself.
Crazy.
Shocking how that works out. Although I did see one of the exes this past weekend.
By accident or on purpose?
Oh, no. It was just on like we were just at the same place or whatever. He's a comic, obviously.
Yes, I figured that out. Yes.
For those who didn't know, don't date us. We're horrible people. But yeah, and I ended up taking him home, and it was just I was drunk on Saturday. I haven't gone drunk in the Village in a while. I was hanging out at the Pear.
Okay.
And I'm like, oh, this is like 2019, just getting wasted at the Pear and taking my ex-boyfriend home.
Yeah.
But it was different because like there wasn't that like I'm not in love with him anymore, and I was just like, oh, you like because he's great in bed, and I'm like, oh, this is what you're good for,
right? So it doesn't feel abusive to yourself when you're not. Yeah,
it actually kind of felt like I got my power back a little bit. You know how like some women who have been like sexually like assaulted or whatever go and have consensual sex with their assault or
Absolutely,
whatever. And I
yes.
was like, oh, now I have the part because now he's calling me constantly, and I'm just like, oh, sorry, busy.
Yeah.
I can't do
Yeah,
it.
no, thank you. I'm good.
Yeah, like every once in a while I'll jump on your dick, but that's about it.
Right.
That's all I can deal with.
Men, the different type of drug.
That is another thing too, is that love is really like addicting.
Yeah, Kesha wasn't fucking around. My love, your love is my drug. Yeah.
I didn't know she. Oh, you do know.
I'm a big Kesha fan, guys.
You're a
been on the
pop
Kesha
fan,
crew,
like pop music.
I love pop music. I feel like people don't respect it because it is like top 40 or something. But I'm like, I really would argue that there's a lot of value in pop music. It's just light. Like everything doesn't need to be so heavy, you know?
Yeah. Not everything needs to be like Stevie Nicks, even though I love Stevie.
I love Stevie Nicks too. Yeah. And I love heavy music, and I love Alanis Morissette, who can like overanalyze anything.
Yes.
You know, but I also love Katy Perry and Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift. I love all these people.
I like Miley Cyrus. Like she can actually sing. Like I like.
Oh, she can sing.
I like people, and like Taylor Swift. Like she writes her own music and stuff, and like I respect that out of them. Yeah, I absolutely love some pop stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. It's just I feel like I'm not someone who's like constantly connecting with my inner child. I don't know that I ever like, even when I was a child, I was still kind of adulty.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's good for me. It's like to meet me and then find like in my personality and then find out that my favorite group is the Spice Girls, I think is
all of the dance moves to that. I found that out one night at the stand. Right. I'm like, are you doing the actual routine?
Yes, I am, Malia. Thank you. I respect the art.
I respect the art, which is amazing. So when you were younger, like in high school and stuff, did you ever explore with drugs then?
I never touched a drug until I was 30 years old.
Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
And was it acid or mushrooms?
My first drug ever was mushrooms, and it was they were homegrown mushrooms, not in my home, but my friend, Jonesy, he's a comedian. He used to live here many years ago, but he's lived in LA for a while now. And because for me, there's a lot of trust involved with drugs.
Absolutely.
And so
especially those kinds.
Yes. And I like trusted him. I trusted that he knew what he was doing. I trusted that he wouldn't give me anything that would hurt me. We took them together. And we actually took them like as part of his like moving away celebration. And it's so funny because we were at like a restaurant or a bar or something, and we kept taking them like slowly, but like nothing was happening. And then finally, like an hour after I got home, after hanging out with him for like 3 hours, it hit. And so my first mushroom trip I did alone. Well, technically alone. My roommate's dog, Pinkerton the pit bull, was with me. And like, honestly, I couldn't have asked for anything more kind or patient, because this pit bull, like I must have like petted it so hard, or not like hard, but just like so much that like the fur was like coming off. And and Pinkerton was such a patient, lovely, calm dog with a wonderful energy. So, and I just like ate Twizzlers. I like texted this guy I was kind of like talking to at the time, but who was like so sometimes people in person aren't that exciting, but they're just like exquisite texters.
Yes.
It was one of those guys.
Oh, that could be so disappointing.
Yeah, but it was good at the time because he had also like a little older, had lived like a much like rougher, more experimental life than I had up until that point. So I just ate Twizzlers and rolled around on my bed and hung out with Pinkerton and texted this guy, and it was a nice experience.
Yeah,
because it was kind of disappointing because you like think it's gonna be like this wild night out with your friend, and we're gonna connect on a level that we've never connected on before. But I think ultimately it was nice to have that first experience by myself, especially like because I am someone who like really loves spending time alone.
Yeah,
and to spend like that long of a time alone, but kind of like doing almost nothing was very satisfying.
Yeah, and that sounds like an interesting experience. I've definitely I've done mushrooms alone over quarantine. DMT.
I've done DMT too.
DMT is great. What did you think of DMT?
I'm glad I like researched it and watched a lot of like videos, and like there's a lot of helpful YouTube videos for people really into psychedelics. And so I'm glad I did acid before I did DMT, because to me DMT is like just acid bottled up and like pushed into 15 minutes.
Yeah.
So I think it might have scared me had I not done acid first. But I really liked the experience. I didn't like break through in a way that some other people I know have, but I think that's because maybe like they needed a message at that time that I did not need to receive. And like my message and like kind of what I learned was what I already knew, which was like I need to live in the moment more and experience the moment more. But it was like very fun and very wild.
Yeah, for the whole 15 minutes that it lasted. Yeah, people have talked about like the breakthrough or the breakout or whatever. I was like, is that... Because I know I've talked about it on the show a bunch, but there was one time that I did by myself, and just like all of a sudden the whole street, like everything just turned into a cartoon kind of thing. Like I've definitely seen more things, but like, I never had like any... Like I know Sean Moses talks about like he has like this purple lady that like talks to him and stuff. I've never had that on any psychedelic at all, and I don't know if it's because...
Like, are we not taking enough?
Well, that's debatable. Because I definitely have taken an obnoxious amount of it. Like I almost killed Duckett. I didn't.
With psychedelics? I'm like, that's hard to do.
Yeah, no, it's real hard. He was just a pussy about it.
Yeah,
I've never had anything like that. I don't know, maybe because the first time I ever did acid, I was in high school. Like actually in class in high school.
That's so wild. I can't imagine a high schooler. Like, I just feel like that's like, it seems dangerous just because there's so many like untapped into feelings that you have when you're a teenager.
And just hormones. And, I mean, it was fun. It was absolutely fun. I obviously didn't stay in class all that long. I had to leave after Spanish class.
Yeah.
And then the second time I did it in school, social studies or like a history, one of those types of classes. And she had a quote on the board that says, "In the depths of the mind, fantasy, insane, and reality are the same," which happens to be lyrics to a Slayer song, which I found out later when I went and got it tattooed on my arm. And I just wrote that down and then closed my notebook and then left class. I'm like, this is all I need to learn today. So maybe that's like a breakthrough thing.
That's so
me.
funny.
Where I'm like, no, that's actually real true.
Oh my God.
Very true. Yeah. Slayer was onto something.
Yeah, no, I had such a like a PG, not even PG-13. I had such a PG childhood and like high school experience. Like I think the first time I drank was like I was a senior in high school, I'm pretty sure, and it was like the Sex and the City finale, and I asked my mom if I could have a Cosmopolitan to celebrate, and we like made them in old jars in my friend's garage that his dad was using to like hold like nuts and bolts.
Yeah, like the mason jars.
Yes. And like we emptied that out, and I don't even know if we washed it out, and then we used that as a shaker and made Cosmos, and like they weren't obviously very good. And the fact that I like called my mom and asked her is just like, wow, I'm such a fucking dork. But
that's hilarious.
Yeah. I don't know. I just it's funny because I'm such not a rule follower now, but like in some ways I am. I don't know. But I think it's been nice being a comedian because I can kind of do exactly like whatever I want. Because even though I followed like my mom's rules, but I was never like someone who just did what you told me to do or was, kowtowing to authority. That never happened.
Yeah, you just chose not to do those kind of things. Were you around like a lot of kids that like were getting fucked up? Where did you go to high school?
No, I'm from Union, New Jersey. So, I mean, there's certainly drugs there, home of Artie Lang. But yeah, no, I just didn't hang out that crowd. I was like, in honors classes, and like honors kids, and AP kids do tend to party pretty hard, but it was mostly like, just pot and alcohol. I mean, honestly, there could have been other stuff going on, but sometimes I was just living in my own little bubble and I didn't know other things that were going on. So certainly like my close friends weren't really doing anything harder than that.
Yeah.
And even like the drinking, like, I was like, oh, they can drink, but it's not for me. I'm not going to drink. Yeah. I don't think I was missing anything either.
Yeah. Like you never felt like that, like teenage pressure to like fit in or be cool. You kind of always just like, this is who I am and this is what I do kind of thing.
Yeah. I just knew that there would be time for that in the future, and I just didn't feel like the time was then. Also, like, I don't know, like getting blitzed at like a party in Union, New Jersey, like even when I was like 15, I knew that wasn't cool. I just always knew I was like, I'm gonna go live in New York City, and like that's when I'm gonna have the time of my life and like experiment with all these things. And like, because I like, I wanted to make all my firsts to be like just cooler, I guess.
That makes sense.
More cinematic, not these like backyard parties.
Yeah.
And like I did make that happen for myself.
Which is awesome. Did you plan like losing your virginity?
I did.
The same way.
Yeah, I absolutely did. I lost my virginity at the Chelsea Hotel.
Oh my God, that's
because I wanted it to be good. I was like, I don't want to fucking lose my virginity in a dorm room. Like, I want it to be dope and like have it be a good story.
Or like in a party, like
yeah,
me and my friend are like, we just need to get this over with.
There's so many people who have that. Did you lose your virginity late that you like?
No, well, I mean, I was like 14, 15.
Yeah, that's early, if anything.
Yeah.
I like that you're like, I gotta get this over with.
Yeah, because like all our friends, like I remember a bunch of girls in my class, like they were already on birth control. And I'm like, we are way behind.
Really? That's so interesting.
And I remember my mom tried to put me on the pill. I think first because that's when the Depo-Provera shot came out or whatever.
Right. Okay.
And she gave me, and we went and got that. And because she's a labor and delivery nurse, and they're like, oh, you won't get your period for 3 months, or you can have your period for all 3 months. Like it's really strange with that shot. Like some people like
that sounds like an actual nightmare, having your period for 3 months.
Yeah, one of my girlfriends, she had it, and she was the one she just spotted all of the time, and I didn't have it at all. And my mom's like, I don't think that's normal.
Right. Right.
At all.
That feels like you would get backed up.
Yeah, like all those layers and stuff like that, and it did happen because when I started taking the pill, what happens is because it sheds all those extra layers, so I ended up bleeding for like 3 weeks or whatever, and just like got rid of it.
Yeah,
all those extra fucking uterine layers. Yeah, which was insane. But also, she thought that maybe it would help like regulate my emotions and stuff, because being a teenager, hormonal, we're fucking nuts.
Yeah,
just fucking insane little retards. Basically, but it turns out like all I needed was some Adderall.
Oh, because you had ADHD.
Yeah, but back then, like especially with females, even now, like
that's a good point. Yeah,
they don't really test for that kind of stuff.
Same thing with autism. Like they just it's so under tested and under diagnosed in females,
and so many, and like it's like a lot of it is more like prevalent in males, but there are women who do have it, and
absolutely.
So it's like they need to have more tests for it, and they also need to have better tests just for men as well. Like I forgot what book I was reading. Oh, The Invisible Woman. And it was talking about how like seatbelt companies, like it's not car companies, that it's not federally required for them to have like crash test dummies that are female size or like pregnant women.
Oh,
it's all based off of
the male size.
Yeah. And like now some companies do that. Yeah. But federally, they do not have to test for that still to this day in 2022. Because this book came out in like 2018, which I thought was fucking insane. But yeah, even with like all the testing with like heart attacks, autism, like all this stuff, it's all based off of like the sister, like unfortunately a white man, like a man that's a certain weight and certain.
Well, yeah, it is like white male is the standard, because even I was reading the articles about how I don't know if you had read, the IRS was toying with facial recognition technology. They ended up voting against it, but even in the article, one of the main problems and the criticisms of their facial recognition was that it has a way lower success rate with any face that is not a white face. So you're like, oh, you're fucking over people of color yet again.
Yeah.
So it's just like, yes, that's the standard, and it happens with anyone who's not a white man, especially in the medical industry.
Yeah, and they and a lot of them I don't think really understand how deep it goes. Like I've been working on bits about like feminism. Yeah, we need it, but it's like, so we don't have these like testing for seatbelts, but now you bitches are going to go get drafted. It's like you guys are fighting the wrong thing.
Right, right. No, it's like we're actually dying because you're a woman or you're a black person or you're a black woman,
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Highest mom mortality rate. Awful.
Which is insane.
Awful.
So no drugs in high school. So you have done acid.
Yeah, I've done acid, mushrooms, DMT, and Molly. Those are the drugs I've done. I've tried pot. Pot is an interesting one for me.
Like how you said I tried pot.
Well, because it doesn't. I tried it, but it doesn't work on me.
Okay,
I have like some kind of a THC block. I've drank it. I've eaten it. I've smoked it in a bong, I smoked it in a joint, I smoked it out of a pipe. It just has no effect on me.
None. Sometimes, because the first couple of times, and this happens with a lot of people, the first couple of times I smoked, it did nothing. It took quite a bit actually, before it actually like hit me, before I actually got stoned for the first time. Some people, like maybe if you actually wanted to try to get high, like you would have to do it like for a week straight or something.
Yeah, I think I was like, yeah, because I was like, tried it so many times, so many different ways. Yeah, never for a week straight.
Yeah.
But I also at the time, I kind of like, sometimes for me, I'm like, well, if my body didn't respond easier, maybe it's just like not for me. It's not.
Yeah.
It's also not something I'm interested in. Like I'm more of an uppers person than a downers person, I would say, which is why I haven't done cocaine. You know, that's more of like a safety button for me.
Yeah.
But I just, yeah. And also I think it's like I'm around so many people who smoke pot, and like I've had so many serious boyfriends who are just straight up potheads, including now.
Yeah, I've smoked pot with your boyfriend.
Yeah. And I just like, I kind of like don't love people's behavior when they're on pot. So that makes it even like more unappealing to me.
Yeah.
So I don't know. People love it though. Like I don't want to shit on. I don't want to yuck someone else's yum. So
when it comes to weed,
yeah, I let people smoke weed in my house and whatever. I don't care. It's just like kind of like not something
that
I'm super interested in. And also, I went to art school, so I think the smell kind of physically makes me sick at this point because I smelled it straight for 4 years. So it's just like a lot of things about it to me are unappealing. But
that makes sense. I don't know. Like I love pot, and it's definitely like I rather smoke weed than like take Prozac or like an antidepressant, because those fuck me up way more.
Oh, so you usually as like self-medication?
Yeah, like it's always been
totally.
like, and it's helped with like anxiety and panic attacks. There have been like a handful of times where it's given me a panic attack. You know, that's definitely happened before, which is rare, but it does happen sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've always used it like when I was younger, you know, to party and get stoned. But as I got older, especially now, like you can see all my weed shit down there. Like I smoke, this is again after the quarantine thing, like I smoke maybe like a bowl a day now. Like
Is that a
normally,
lot?
like no, like right before bed. Now,
Oh, that's a little. Okay.
Yeah, because I used to be like a wake and baker. Like first thing, wake up, smoke a bowl, then like afternoon, smoke another, and then it's like just maintaining that stoned.
Right.
Because sometimes if you smoke enough pot, it's like any drug. You smoke too much, and like you're not going to have that first high.
Right.
Kind of thing. Everyone loves to do drugs because they want to recreate that first high.
Sure.
Like with heroin and stuff, and it's like you can't do it.
Right.
My dad, like I've talked about how my dad, like he's a huge drug addict, and he would like not do drugs for a whole month. He just like get clean. So when he did do drugs again, he could actually have the high again.
That's a real commitment.
Yeah, no, that's a real
to the things you love.
Yeah, real drug addict.
Yeah. No, I think that's part of it when you like with the wake and bake, and I think like just seeing so many boyfriends do that. I just have a natural I naturally am repelled by anything that I feel like I'm gonna be dependent on. Like I won't even drink coffee. I was actually just talking to my therapist about it. I won't drink coffee for the same reason, because just like the thought that I would need to wake up in the morning and have anything, a cigarette, a cup of coffee, it just like freaks me out so much that like even like Diet Coke was the thing that I like really sensed myself becoming addicted to. And I mean that I know that's
my mom's addicted to Diet Coke.
It
Absolutely.
seems like kind of like silly on a drug podcast to talk about Diet Coke, but Diet Coke is a real drug. And so I banned myself from having 2 liters of Diet Coke in the house because I would drink like a 2-liter a day. It was insane.
Wow. Yeah.
So I got down to like, you know, a can a day maybe. But if I like feel like I'm fiending for it, I'm not allowed to have it until that goes away.
Oh, so you are stronger than I am when it comes with that. Because I don't drink coffee because I don't like coffee. Like I don't
like coffee either.
I don't like the taste. Like I love chai tea, and that has
chai tea is great.
It's so good, and it does have some caffeine in it. I know some teas that I have a lot, but caffeine really doesn't affect me. Maybe it is the ADHD or like the copious amounts of cocaine.
Because caffeine makes me feel bad. It makes me feel jittery. It makes me have my stomach hurt. I don't like it at all.
Like the 5-hour energy drink, like when I drive like road trips or whatever, and that stuff is disgusting. And then I have that like Like, I'd rather do a bump of cocaine. Like, that makes me feel better than a fucking 5-hour energy drink.
Well, a Monster energy drink or a Red Bull makes me feel better than coffee. And people look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm like, it's just like, it's something like abrasive about coffee that hurts my stomach.
Yeah, people
and I just like don't like the taste in my mouth. Like Red Bull tastes like soda. I love soda. Soda's my thing. Like if you're gonna pick a vice for me, it's like soda, fast food. Like that's the kind of shit that I love.
Are you big on sugar at all, like candies and sweets? And
I
stuff?
like candies, but I can like I go often on keto a lot because I have insulin resistance. So like I can detox from sugar. I don't want to say pretty easily because it's never easy for anyone. And I always know I've reached ketosis when I'm walking down the street crying for no reason. Like the sugar addiction is real, but I can go without it. I'm definitely more like a salty person than a sweet person.
Yeah, I like the salty sweet mixed together. I've also noticed like not being depressed, I'm not eating as much candy because I even have like a bin, like the little basket just full of fucking candies. And it is like, because I have an addict's brain. It's like, it's always wants more. It's like, I need to have more. I also try to stay away from cocaine as much as possible. It's my favorite. I love, obviously the logo of the podcast should probably say
you love cocaine.
I do. So I definitely try not to do it, but it's hard in those situations, especially since so many of our friends do it. Like last night I was in the village and someone asked, they're like, oh, do you have a bump? I'm like, it's fucking Tuesday at 8 p.m. No, I do not have cocaine, leave me alone. Like actually, and he was like, whoa. And I'm like, you can't do that to me.
You're like, now I'm thinking about cocaine.
Now it's going to be in my brain. And I had a couple drinks and I'm like, let's do some cocaine.
That's how I feel about Taco Bell. I'm just like, just don't mention it. And then I like, as soon as someone mentions it, I can't stop thinking of it. And I go, I'm gonna go home and seamless fucking or Uber Eats Taco Bell to my house now. Now we have an issue.
Taco Bell is it is one of my vices too. I do like taco.
Good.
It's so disgusting, but
I love it. I love a chemically composed food is my favorite. You're like, what's your favorite type of food? Chemical. A Pop-Tart. Like I really love that's why it's like, I guess maybe that's why I eat like a stoner, but I don't smoke the weed. So it's just like
you don't need help in the department.
Yeah, I think that's why I like hanging out with stoners because we have the same interests and palate. Yeah, and then like they probably love me because I'm like, I'm not going to even use any of your weed.
Right. I just want the Taco Bell.
More for you. Yeah, I love it. They like the kind of things that people like doing, like silly things. Like I'm like, all of that I'll just do completely sober.
Without it.
I'll jump on a trampoline, like any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I like to do that stuff. So
it's fun.
Yeah, but I also like to do it when I'm on acid.
Right.
Some things are better on drugs than other things, but also like being sober is it's fun. Like people, especially addicts and stuff like that, and it can be really hard, you know, to just stay sober and not have like any chemicals in your body. Like you think that maybe like you're doing something wrong or like something is off. It always feels like something is kind of off if you're not on some type of drug. But I've noticed, especially now getting older, I think age has a lot to do with it too. It's like, no, actually sober's pretty cool. Yeah. Like it's not all that bad. Like
remembering like that was my biggest thing. Like I really drank really heavily when I was like 23, 24. I had a very stressful job. I was working like 70 plus hours a week for like under $30,000 a year in like a talent management position. And so, like, when I left on Fridays, I would be drunk pretty much from, like, 9 p.m. on Friday and then, all night and then wake up on Saturday and just immediately, like, start drinking again, like, in the late afternoon with my friends because the stress level was just so unmanageable. But the biggest problem was like I'm a person who blacks out, and it's like as anyone who blackout drinks knows, it's not always that you drank too much. Sometimes a blackout can happen after 2 drinks, and sometimes a blackout can happen after 8 drinks. Yeah, and that's the problem because if it was like, oh, I'm just drinking too much, that's something they like. Oh, I can fix that. Yeah. But it's just like sometimes it's the type of alcohol. Like I don't drink tequila anymore because of that. But you're just like, I'm trying to like go through it because I'm like, I don't want to not drink. I really do enjoy it. And I think so many people, especially being around so many addicts, just as much as they're so excited to like do drugs. When they kind of become sober, they're also so excited to like tell you to become sober too.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, not to be rude, but I don't have like, it's like fucked up. It's like, but I don't have a problem with it the way
Yeah.
you do, you know?
Yeah.
I have other problems. Like, but that's just not one of them.
Yeah.
And like, I've had so many people that I've dated that would try to be like, you're an alcoholic. And it got to the point where I was just like, am I? And then I'm like looking in on anytime, you know, I think when someone's, you know, enough people say something to you, you're like, gotta look into this.
Oh, yeah,
like, I don't
absolutely,
feel like
yeah.
that. And like, a lot of my friends are like, no, that's crazy. And I was like asking some of my addict friends, and they're like, no, like, and then Rosebud actually explained to me, she was like, a lot of people who got sober like love saying that other people are addicts when in reality they're not.
Yeah.
And it was all people who I had like,
it's like a projecting kind of
yeah,
thing.
I had romantic relationships that like ended poorly with them, and those were the people who were all saying it. So I was like, well, there's a common theme here.
Yeah.
You know? And I had to like even block this guy who was just like constantly telling me I was an alcoholic. Like, I hadn't seen him in years, and he's like, I love you, but you have a problem and you need to get help. You're like, what are you like? I don't even remember the last time I had a drink.
Right.
Like, what are you talking about right now? And just so I was like, I have to block you because you obviously just like don't understand me. So, but I mean, yeah, there was the 23, 24 was like a heavy drinking time. But other than that, I just got too into comedy, and I realized that I couldn't properly write or perform if I was drunk or worse, hungover.
Yeah.
So
hungover trying to do comedy is worse. Like, I'd rather have like a glass of wine. Yeah, I think I would rather be kind of drunk than hungover. Because at least when I'm drunk, I'm like, hey,
sure.
You know? And when I'm hungover, I'm like, go fuck yourself.
Nothing worse than a hangover. I can be funny drunk. I cannot be funny hungover.
It's so bad.
If you have like a migraine, oh my God, just like impossible.
That's another thing too. As I get older, like, it affects me more. Like, if I drink too much, like last night, because I had to count because I was drunk. Like, I know I was definitely drunk. I had like a beer at my first show. Then I went to the Village, and like Eddie at the comedy shop, you know, he was buying us drinks, and he bought me a glass of wine. And then I had another glass of wine, and then I ate. I'm like, okay, 3 is good, like spacing them out. And then like he's like, here, try this drink. And it was like a tequila thing. And then I drank that. And then he gave me another. I'm like, I can't. That's too many. Just 4 drinks. I came home and I'm like, I'm kind of hammered.
Yeah. It's hard too, because it's like, it's one thing. It's like you want to keep going. You want to keep the party going.
Yeah. Like I don't want to disappoint anyone. It is that like, it is kind of like that FOMO, or like maybe even an insecurity where it's like, oh, well, people are used to seeing me drunk, like here in the Village. So if I'm not drunk, people do. They're like, you're not drinking? And they look at me like I'm crazy because I'm not.
Really?
Yeah. I'm like, no, it's fucking Tuesday. I'm not fucking drinking on a Tuesday.
I think like learning to have like part of adulthood is like certainly like learning how to like just have 1 or 2 drinks and like be fine, or like enjoy a cocktail or like something like done by a mixologist. And it's not, sometimes it's like truly about like enjoying drinks, not just like pounding them to get drunk the way you would do when
like
you were
binge
young.
drinking. Like that's what I am. I'm a binge drinker.
Oh, totally. Like, and I still every now and then will be like, oh, I'm binge drinking tonight.
Yep.
Because it's like that. It's like that go. It's like I don't have a lot of time off, and so when I have a night off, this is gotta be the best fucking night ever. And like it is, like it's easy to get caught up in like the moment and keep going. And then also I definitely fall into like trying to, at 5'3.5", trying to keep up with like my male colleagues. And I was like, oh, you can't outdrink me. And then it's just like this like weird, you know, female Napoleon complex or something.
Weird. I used to be able to outdrink. Like I've won money from it.
So funny.
Because, well, I had learned a trick being a stripper is that, like, because we used to get paid, you know, if we sold drinks and shots and stuff like that.
Sure.
So I would, like, this guy used to pay me $100 a shot and $50 a beer. So I would do, like, 3 shots in a row, make, you know, $300, go throw them up.
Oh, wow.
And then come back.
Oh, wow.
So that way, like, they weren't in my system.
Yeah.
Very professional. Very, like, I was never bulimic. Like, I remember in high school, I also tried to be anorexic, but I love ham sandwiches too much, apparently. It's like 3 hours. What
a specific thing.
Because I told my dad, I'm like, I'm never eating again. And then 3 hours later, I was eating a ham sandwich. He's like, how's the ham sandwich? So it's always stuck with me. But yeah, I tried throwing up in high school. I'm like, oh, this isn't going to work. But drinking alcohol, absolutely. Yeah, there was another dude. It's also a strip club. Like big 300-pound dude. And I felt like that scene from fucking Indiana Jones where she's just pounding shots and that guy just, I was her. I was able to just drink and then be able to drive, be perfectly fine driving.
Yeah.
Cruise control is your friend when you drink and drive. 100%. Out in the middle of nowhere, it's a lot easier.
I was gonna say I was just like, I don't think that would fly anywhere I've lived.
No,
but
definitely not in the city. But out in fucking Wisconsin, I mean, everyone does it.
Yeah, my best friend's from Michigan, so I've like spent some time in some pretty rural areas.
Yeah, like it's just easy, and because like we drink when we drink, it's like we have a drink and a shot. It's always like a beer and a shot. Even like when we order like a Bloody Mary on Sundays, that's big. In Wisconsin, you also get like a tumbler of beer, like a can of beers. Like everything comes with something. So it's not like I would used to drink vodka sodas. Like that was my jam. And then we would also be doing shots of like 151 rum. So
jeez, yeah.
Like and finish a bottle of vodka, and that would be a normal Tuesday.
Yeah.
And now like I think about that. Because there's some people who'd be like, I got drink you. And I was like, if I was 22, I could murder you with alcohol. Like you would have alcohol poisoning.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now.
And you're tall too. Like you're
and
tall.
A camel. I got my own humps and everything.
Yeah, you're tall and thin. Like my dad was like 6'6", but very thin, and like he could drink 6 beers and be completely fine.
Yeah,
and like that just like always blew my mind because I was like, if I had 6 beers, you wouldn't be able to understand what I was saying. Like that's way too much for me.
That's totally normal. Yeah, a lot of times too when I have been really drunk, like especially around comedy, people are like, I'm like the next day, I'm like, fuck, I was so wasted yesterday. They're like, wait, you drank yesterday?
Yeah.
Like you seem completely normal. I'm like, yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
when you're hammered and people don't even know that you're hammered.
Well, that's kind of like also part of the mystery of blacking out because I've had really close friends have full on conversations with me blackout and they're like, I couldn't tell. I think it's like you got to look in the eyes.
Yeah.
You got to look. You got to find yourself in the eyes. That's the key. There
is definitely oh yeah, the number of times driving home blacked out, like perfectly parked car. I mean, there's been a couple times where it was not parked correctly and doors wide open and naked in my bathroom, but like for the most part, yeah, blacking out now too. I notice anytime I drink over, especially if it's like vodka or if I'm doing shots, anything over 6 drinks, I will black out.
Yeah, I think the scary part with drinking is that like, you think about all the times you drank and then you go, how am I still alive?
Yeah.
I don't know. And people always think drugs are more dangerous, but any time when I go, I don't know how I'm not dead in a ditch, it involves alcohol, not drugs.
100%. Yeah. Cause like I still drive on acid. Like I don't drink and drive anymore. That's a skill that you have to keep up daily.
Yeah. Or maybe just don't do it.
Yeah. Don't drink and drive. It's very, very bad.
Maybe not,
but don't do that. But
it's big in the Midwest, so I noticed. Like I remember doing a stand-up show in I want to say Cleveland. It was either Cleveland or Cincinnati, but I think it was Cleveland. And drinking and driving somehow got brought up on stage, and it got a round of applause. Yeah, and I remember like flipping out on the audience, like, what are you talking about? Like that kills people. Are you out of your mind?
I was just in Milwaukee and I did the joke where I'm like, the thing I miss the most about drinking is the driving.
Yeah.
And people are like, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, no, and
you're like, no, it's a joke. It's not something that we should be. It's not. This is a comedy show, not a TED Talk.
Yeah,
so
basically. But yeah, in the Midwest, it is really normal. Like getting a DUI is like a slap on the hand. Like when I moved to Florida, that's what my uncle said too. He's like, you can't be drinking or driving the way you did back home because it's just a normal thing. Unfortunately, in the Midwest, it really is just kind of normal.
That's true. All my boyfriends from the Midwest had a DUI. Yeah.
Yeah, still never had a DUI, but I do.
You're safe in the city here.
Yeah. Obviously, I don't drive here in the city.
We're
but
drink and walk here.
I do like that. Are they bringing back the like the to-go cups? Because I heard, like, I don't know.
Are they?
Yeah. Well, that was a Cuomo thing when he was like getting outed for a bunch of shit.
He was like, oh yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, I loved that. That was like a big part. I remember like when I lived in Williamsburg, there were like, you could still find a couple places that would do like to-go margaritas on the DL. But I mean, I was at Casey Balsham's birthday party on Monday, and I just straight up took a Cosmopolitan in a plastic cocktail glass and just drank it, walking around the fucking Lower East Side. So
I think as long as like we're not obnoxious about, you know what I mean, like walking around with a bottle or something, and we're
well, it does feel like if people, people do casually walk around with joints, and it's like, well, can I casually walk around with a cocktail?
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like, it's
a double standard kind
yeah,
of.
not that I want people hanging out of like, windows like in Nashville or New Orleans.
Yeah.
I don't think, but I think, casual, whatever, or like a 40 in a paper bag. Come
I mean, I still do that.
That's a classic move.
You never get too old for a 40 in a paper bag.
Yeah, what's the point of living in this cramped city with no car if you're not going to walk around with a 40 in a paper bag?
To the park. Yeah, because Central Park's a couple blocks up that way. So I would just, have a cocktail and walk over there down by the river.
That's a fun day.
It's a great day. I still like, I like to drive on acid. So I still like to drive on acid.
Now explain how I can't even use my phone on acid, Aaliyah. How are you driving on acid?
Well, because that was the thing back in like high school and right out of high school, because acid was my favorite drug, and
it's amazing.
And my mom wouldn't let me get my driver's license until I was 18, rightfully so,
because you were always on acid.
Because I was always on it, yeah. Because she didn't want to be responsible,
yeah,
which makes perfect sense. Even though still to this day, way better drive. Like I was driving since I was 9. Like I used to have to drive my dad.
That seems like a traumatic story.
Yeah, my dad and my stepmom, I used to have to drive them home from the bars.
Yeah.
Also, kind of normal from the Midwest for like the big drinkers, like a
9. Wow.
Yeah, 9.
Were you tall at 9?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Because I was like, how would you even reach the pedals?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, even stick shift. Like I got my first driving ticket when I was 12 because my stepmom, she was hammered trying to teach me how to drive stick. And I accidentally ran into my friend's fence that I was picking up for a sleepover.
Holy crap.
Super fun. But driving back and forth from Chicago, like I would drop acid, and then it's about an hour and a half, 2 hours, depending on where we were going in the city in Chicago. And I would just drive in Chicago, Friday night, Saturday night on acid. There's been a couple of times where it definitely felt like Mario Kart, if there was construction.
Yeah.
But I just I'm super focused. Like that's the thing where I don't know if I could ever have like a DMT breakthrough because of like how controlled I am when I am on drugs. Like alcohol is the thing that like I'm like woo, and
right.
But other drugs,
that's why I like it too. Yeah.
But the other drugs is like I help people. I'm like, you need water, you need some water. Probably, you haven't washed your hands in a while. Like I'm totally one of
I try to like sign people to record deals when I'm on Molly. I literally met a girl at Lollapalooza. She was lost, and I somehow I waited with her till she found her friends, and then I took down her information for her band that of course she had, and we ended up playing her band's music on Guys We Fucked. And then I ran into her again. So I met her at Lollapalooza, ran into her again on the Kesha cruise, and I was like, wow. We follow each other on Instagram.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I was like, I was like so proud of myself for like writing it down on my phone, remembering that I had written down on my phone, contacting her again. I was like, that was a lot for me to do on Molly.
Oh yeah, but when you're on certain drugs like that, like you connect with somebody, and then you do remember those little things.
Exactly.
Like I've written whole sets like on mushrooms, like over the thing, and I've done them, like at a lot of the park shows. I'm like, these are great. I'm like, and they work. People fucking loved them. I'm like, that's amazing. I love drugs. They're great.
It is a fun experience. Yeah, I just I wish it just didn't take take so much out of me, or so many days, especially after mushrooms or acid. I feel like I have jet lag the next day.
Yeah,
it's like a weekend commitment.
Yeah, you definitely need the day off afterwards, unless you're just microdosing. Because I microdose on mushrooms, and then the next day been perfectly fine. I've also I've gotten hammered and microdosed on mushrooms, and then woke up with no hangover.
Oh, that's interesting. I've heard a lot of people microdosing in it, especially I have obsessive compulsive disorder, and I know a lot of people are very into microdosing to help with obsessive compulsive disorder. I've never tried it. I'm not against it. I just go, how am I going to know what exactly a microdose is? Because for me, especially with mushrooms, when they're still in mushroom form, not in a chocolate or something, you're it's a little bit of
because a lot of
a gamble. You don't know what's really going on with the serving size.
Some of them will have it's that blue, the Phyllis is what I call it.
Yeah.
I can't say the word, but you know what I'm talking about. But yeah, it's like the bluer or the dark gray, the mushroom, the more it has of the trippy stuff, basically.
Right.
Our buddy, he actually has some amazing microdoses, and they're in capsules, so they're ground up. and it was like the perfect amount.
Okay.
Like, I was like, oh, this is like a microdose. Because like a lot of times, like I'll just eat a stem or a cap and be like, sometimes it may be too much, but other times it's like the right amount. But like with microdosing, like you don't really get the visuals, where stuff kind of moves around, like you don't really have that. I notice at least when I microdose, it's like when I dose, that's when that happens. That's why I like the microdose, because it's just real mild. And like your pupils are dilated a little bit, obviously, but not enough to where, the marble floors like moving around, and they were the perfect amount. I'll tell him to give you some, have him give you some.
Yeah, for me it's like on mushrooms I just laugh like uncontrollably. Constantly. It is like I will stay up for like hours. I have a specific friend who I like really love doing mushrooms with, and we will just be crying laughing to the point where other people who aren't as affected by it are jealous of us because like they're experiencing such FOMO, and we're like, we don't know what's going on, we can't explain it, it's just so funny.
And sometimes it's over the stupidest, littlest thing.
Yeah, no, he does. Like this friend, he decided to do an impression of the singer Seal, but in this scenario, Seal's voice is Fat Bastard from the Austin Powers movies. And I don't like, it's something that you're like, it's like kind of ridiculous when you're explaining it sober, but on mushrooms is the funniest.
Probably the most amazing thing you've ever heard.
Funniest thing. And even now, so like in my sober memory, because it's so trapped in my mind, in my mushroom memory, it's the funniest thing I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah. There's been, the last time Pockets.
The
last time me and Pockets, no, it was a couple of times. Me and Pockets done a lot of acid together.
Oh, Pockets.
It was like 2020, like the summer of 2020, and we went to one of the restaurants up the street here, like outdoor thing. And I think it was just over a word, like how someone said the word right or something like that. But like we just sat down. And then, like, it just happened, and we're, like, in tears. Like, we couldn't even order food.
Because you're laughing so hard.
We were laughing so hard. I love that. That's one of my favorite things about acid.
Oh, my God. Yeah. It's just sad. To laugh to the point of the crying is, like, one of life's most pure gifts.
It really is, and it's so underrated. And people don't get to do that enough, I don't think.
Oh, my God. That's why I remember moments when I cried when I laughed till I cried.
It's almost like having an orgasm. Like, your body needs that release.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Crying and the laughing combined, because it's like it's sadness and happiness combined.
Yeah, I mean, I remember being interviewed. They did a big story with female comedians about rape jokes and whether or not we should be able to tell them, and that's kind of how I explained it. I'm like, it's something so heavy, so hard to deal with, so under talked about, so so many women feel it just abandoned, unheard, unseen. But it's when it's something that heavy that's going to elicit the greatest
laugh ever,
the laugh and response, and it is like it's like a sigh. It's like taking a breath. It's releasing all that anguish, and
so it's like you've healed from that thing. If you can laugh at the most traumatic things that have happened to you, that means you've healed. You've
done some work. You understand it on a deeper level. So like it crushes me when people can't handle like a really in quotes offensive joke. I'm like, oh, but that's the next step to your freedom.
Yeah, I'm like, and I've told people, I'm like, someday you'll heal from that, and this will be very funny. Like you have to, and they get offended. I'm like, you're offended because you're not healed from it. That's not my fault.
Right.
It's not my fault that you're triggered by something that you need to heal your goddamn self.
Yeah.
So work on you.
Yeah. I mean, the answer is always work on you for sure.
Oh, literally forever, every day, every second. It's so annoying. Which is why I like drugs.
I hear you.
It does. It gives you that little break where you're like, all right, I'm not doing this right now. I
don't have to think about it. For me, it's like it helps. I feel good with me, but like a lot of times, like especially in this career, I feel very overwhelmed by everyone else's energy. So I feel like alcohol especially can really act as like a bubble or a barrier to kind of protect me from their negative energy.
Yeah, because there's been a couple of times, with just people where you're like, whoa, like they even have to talk just like sitting next to me.
Yeah,
and
it's
I'm
just
like,
too much.
Yeah, I'm like, all right, you need to work on that.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Whatever that is, you need to work on that, sweetheart. All right, well, You have a new special coming out, which I'm excited about, you and Christina.
Thank you. It's called Our Special Day, out on Valentine's Day on YouTube. Very excited about it. We both did half hour of comedy. There's some audience interaction like we do at our live touring shows. And I just think it's like a really nice love letter, to the fuckers who have been so supportive of us, and then also to ourselves. And I directed it, which I'm really excited about.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah, I saw the little preview and stuff. And you did everything on your own, and it's like a YouTube, like.
Yeah, I mean, we hired a production company that we worked with. We definitely spent a lot of money on it, but we wanted to just do it our way. And it's funny because this is something I had wanted to do. I had asked our agents about it like 5 years ago, and they looked at me like I'm crazy, but now it's such a different world. And, especially people like Andrew Schultz, definitely want to credit him, really, pushed it forward and was like, no, like you can do whatever you want to do. Don't let people tell you no, which we already knew from doing the Guys We Fucked podcast. Because to me, it was like it was a linear move almost. It made sense. We created our own podcast. We had success with that. And part of that was that we didn't have anyone telling us what to do. So it only made sense to make our own YouTube special. Yeah. But, agents and managers, they always want you to sell to Netflix or Hulu or Amazon Prime. And I go, I feel like a teenage daughter. They don't understand me. They don't understand me. I want to do it myself.
Yeah, and have it done your way. And then that way, like, all the content is still yours. Because a lot of times, like, a lot of those companies will try to be like, you can't tell these jokes anymore. It's like,
you don't ever want to give up your intellectual property, and especially when it's kind of your like introduction to the world of like what you do. I just really wanted to have control over that myself, and so the success can be 100% ours, or not going to happen, but failure can also be yours. I think to own your failure or your success, either way, and can be empowering.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. You have to own them both, especially the failures. Otherwise they'll never succeed.
Yeah.
Right?
And you don't want to blame that on somebody else. You're like, okay, well, I did something, it didn't work, and I'll try something else.
Yeah. Although it is fun blaming other people for your problems. Big fan of that. It's not my fault. It's your fault, Mom. No, just kidding. Where can people find you on social media?
I am at Philanthropy Gal on everything, mostly on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. And then the YouTube channel for the special is youtube.com/guys we fucked without the U in fucked. So 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Valentine's Day. And Christina and I are going to be live chatting along with anyone who watches
the premiere thing or whatever.
For the premiere. So that'll be fun.
That's fun. Valentine's Day. That's Monday. That's coming up next week, right?
Hell yeah. Less than a week away at this point.
Oh my God. Are you excited?
I'm super excited. And I'm just like, I've sat with it so long, and like, especially having directed it and editing it, and just every little nook and cranny I've like licked over and listened to. So I'm excited to share it with other people.
And also just like get it the fuck out there.
And just get it out of just get it out into the world. You're good. It's nothing is going to ever be like a fucking 100% perfect. Yeah. But it's like perfect for what we wanted to show people. Yeah.
That's another thing too. Not everything is perfect.
At a certain point, my manager was just like, you just gotta make stuff and let it go. And kind of that's why I like this Andy Warhol quote on your wall. It's like, you just want to keep making the art, and while people are deciding whether it's good or bad, you make some more. That's like a very good. I mean, I'm a big Andy Warhol fan. Yeah. So also someone who you think would use a lot of drugs didn't use drugs at all. Yeah.
He was just naturally crazy.
He was just like going to like church with his mother. Yeah,
he was a little weirdo.
And I love him. What a little weirdo.
You can obviously listen to this wonderful podcast on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and now iHeartRadio. Follow me and Lucy. Oh, that's us. We're a team. Twitter and Instagram at How to Do Drugs Pod. Please rate and subscribe. I need some more awesome reviews. That would be great. Oh, also on Audible and Amazon, I guess the podcast is there as well. I'm Aaliyah Janine. You can find me, the Aaliyah Janine, on Twitter, and Aaliyah.Janine on Instagram. Okay, that's it. Bye.